What we want to talk about now is the future, and Dr. Shah is going to give a small introduction to this session.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. This is the research session, and Dr. Eza rightly pointed out there are some exciting information that we would like to convey. But I was really also happy to see that research was covered outside this session, such as the one talk that just happened before. It could have very well have been by Dr. Odorizio. It could have been in this session. So we will try to organize better next time. Nonetheless, let me start with a completely different subject. It's not anything to do, well, it's something to do with research, but it refers to the three hats that I wear in this conference. The first hat that I'm wearing now, for the first talk that I'm giving, is as member of the board of directors. And Maureen has chosen me to give this information to all of you because it's really a group effort of CNETS Canada. And what I want to talk about is the new initiative that CNETS Canada has taken to support the research, NET-related research. And if I can move, yes. So the question to ask is, why do we need to support NET research? And I think the very first point that you have to understand that research is conducted by researchers, and researchers ignore the potential research ideas in NET field for exactly the same reasons that you have heard from clinicians. They are the same old cliche. Most of the time you are being told, why do you want to do research on such a subject? There is such a low incidence, it is an indolent disease. Why treat when ignoring will simply do the job? So those are the same things that we hear whenever we think of doing a research project. And then there are additional issues. Research is not like clinical work where government assures funding for whatever work that you want to do within the framework of their mandate. Research is really conducted by the funding that is obtained individually by individual researchers, most of the research in Canada at least. And therefore, for an orphan cancer such as NET, it's extremely difficult. The minute you put a grant application, the first answer that you will get, first response is, so few people are affected by it. Why do we have to support this research when there is a breast cancer which is more acute research or whatever it is? So there are different cancers and we get sidelined just because it's an orphan or not much talked about cancer. Are there any research ideas to be explored in NET? You bet. I mean, there are so many things in these cancers that the more I read and the more I come to these conferences to hear the clinicians and surgeons talking about this issue, I feel that there is so much that can be explored in NET research. And I've just given a few examples over here. The main issue is therapy. Therapy is really something that doesn't seem to work. If some of you have read textbooks, the clinical textbooks on chemotherapy of neuroendocrine tumor, it used to occupy somewhere around 20 pages in a volume that was written in 1995. In a 2005 volume, chemotherapy occupies 3 pages. Why? Because it doesn't seem to work as well. We need to do a lot of research on how to improve the efficacy of chemotherapy. These are the issues that not much is getting done. Very few people are working on it. So we need to encourage that. Potentiation of chemotherapy. If chemo by itself is not working, you can always add something to that cocktail so that your chemo will start working better. How could you add that something to the cocktail without a research? That's what needs research. Viral therapy, gene therapy, small molecule therapy. There are several options apart from surgery that need to be explored. Like most of other cancers, they have such kind of treatment. Why not for NETs? Strange events that occur in neuroendocrine tumor. And these are strange. By that, what I mean is not much is actually being done at all. There is some idea, but not enough. What we do not know is that at the end there are cardiac abnormality. According to one report, a lot of NET patients who will survive for a long time will die because of cardiac abnormality as one of the causes. And we don't know a lot. I mean, we know it happens. We know that valvular abnormalities exist. We know certain biochemical reason why they exist. But we still do not understand why and how we can control it. Can we reduce it? Those are the events that need to be done. Fibrosis is another issue. You have your tumors, they are treated, and then they undergo fibrotic patch, and then we really don't know more details about it afterwards. Interferon response. What is the effect of serotonin overproduction and niacin depletion? That is one of the work that we did. What is its impact? We don't know that. Unusual movement of disease markers. I mean, these are some of the things that you will have the doctor scratching the head. My God, this parameter is going up, but corresponding the second parameter doesn't go down. And therefore, pathologists like Dr. Asa would actually be wondering, how can we match this for this patient? You cannot be pigeonholed very easily because we don't know enough information about this disease. This requires research. Molecular characterization of NET is really the most neglected part. Perhaps it's because it's the most difficult part. It needs more research. We know certain genes were involved, such as MEN or something, but we do not know a lot more about that for many, many diseases. I mean, just one more example I'll give you is breast cancer. We know it's BRCA1, BRCA2. What do they do? Where are they in the DNA repair pathway, and why there is a problem with this disease? So in cases where BRCA1 and 2 are affected, do we have any such knowledge of NETs? Very little or none. So those are the aspects which need to be done. And so one of the mandates that CNETS Canada had, and this is the last part of it, that one of the mandates of CNETS Canada was that we should be supporting research on NETs. So how did CNETS Canada do this wonderful job? I must say, wonderful job. I'm telling on behalf of other organization that is aligned or associated with CNETS about this, that extremely hard work. How did they collect the money to support research? The answer is hard work. This is really the bottom line, that the patients and the volunteers associated with this organization have done a very good job in collecting the money dedicated for supporting CNETS research, NETS research. Well, who did the hard work? The volunteers did. Most of you have given your time and really have done a great job, so that CNETS Canada really exists because of the volunteers. There are no paid positions, and people just work very hard. There are donors who have given generous support for different reasons. Some donors have given because they want to donate to a good cause. Some have given because their son or a daughter who died, and they thought that this is the best way to commemorate, I mean, to really remember the life that was lived by this person. Various reasons. People have given money for a variety of accounts. You might want to discuss with Maureen if at all you want to know more about it. But really, that's wonderful. That's how the money was collected. If this wasn't enough, last summer in particular was extremely good in terms of physical activity. Many volunteers from CNETS Canada or those aligned with this organization, they had a sponsored walk, a sponsored run. Some of them did bicycling, and all this landed up collecting money. And if you had time to look at some of the slides that were prepared, which are being constantly circulating when the sessions are not on, in that the details have been given by Elisa in a very nice way. Those were the efforts done by the CNETS Canada, the members of CNETS Canada. And of course, good old pestering. I mean, I think Maureen, some of you who know her very well, they know how persistent you have to be to get people motivated to support this cause. There is no dearth of persistence by the members. Professional pro bono contributions. I think this is something that I must mention, because it's not just that the lawyers firm decided that they will help you, or a I'm not naming names, simply for one reason, that I know there are many people who contributed to this effort, and if I miss one name, it won't be fair. But I can tell you that there are organizations such as an advertising firm which has participated on a free basis, and they have really helped us in putting CNETS to the footing that it is right now. There are legal advisors who gave us some part of their help free. Apart from that, there have been teachers, there have been lawyers, there have been business owners and bankers. I have written all kinds of people over there. All of them have given their personal opinion and help in terms of putting things together for CNETS Canada. So all this was possible simply because they didn't have to be paid, but they were strongly motivated to support CNETS. That's why we collected, whatever money we collected, we could keep it just for the cause. And the last one, of course, why did they do it? Why did these people do? Personal reason, humanitarian reasons. But CNETS is extremely thankful to all of you for having contributed your time and effort in collection and keeping this money intact for the purpose. And now I'm coming to the last part of that this talk. we decided, there was a big debate. The board of directors made a big discussion on how we should use this money. Because you see, there are several ways. We could have chosen a laboratory and given the money. We could have chosen a clinic and given the money. But we decided after a long discussion that we will do it through an organization called the Cancer Research Society of Canada. Now, why did we choose CRS, as in short it is called? We thought that there was a lot of discussion about this, but one of the major attraction that we had was that they were going to match our funds. For every dollar that we collected, CRS was going to add $1 to it, and then give $2 as a grant in the joint name of two organizations, CNETS and CRS. So we thought that we are getting double the mileage out of our collection effort. Second was they were ready to target, and they were willing to put it on paper that one grant will be awarded in the name of CNETS Canada, a joint effort, and this grant will be given in 2010. For the amount that we will give in 2010, so I have not written the amount, but it is going to be over here, $120,000 for 2 years. Now, $120,000 may sound too little for some of you, especially our colleagues who have come from south of the border. But remember, in Canada, in the research grants, the principal investigator cannot be paid. Any of the co-applicants cannot be paid. So, because they are supposed to be paid by the university, by the hospital, whoever is employing them. And therefore, $120,000 carries a long way. You can make a significant contribution to it, to start studying a problem. So I know that for me, I can tell you that I had CRS grant on carcinoid cancer, and that resulted in a publication in 2005, and eventually I got much more funding from other organizations. So 120K is a good amount to have for research. What is the reason why CRS was chosen? The second reason, most important reason, was that CRS has a mechanism in place to distribute the money in a fair and a transparent fashion all over Canada. They have been doing this for more than 50 years. They support both clinical research as well as fundamental research, as long as it is related to some cancer, and therefore NET is definitely part of their mandate. They have a very streamlined procedure to invite the application. They will invite grant application from researchers and clinicians from all over Canada. From all the hospitals and universities, they have a set mechanism. They will send the invitation out. Everybody would know those who are interested, and I can tell you, funding opportunity, everybody's eyes will go up, and they will want to. So why are we doing this? For the simple reason that those researchers who have expertise, those clinicians who have expertise in another cancer or other disease, we don't care what it is, as long as they can think of a way to apply their expertise to NET research, that's it. This is what we want. We want to recruit the best of the minds from all different researches. Think about NET. Think how I can apply my knowledge to NET. And this, by putting, so actually, if I say in the crudest term, we are really putting the carrot in front of them. There it is. Please run for this carrot, and we will see that NET research goes far. This is a good start for us, and I think that it will go a good way. The way they analyze the grant applications is also quite transparent. There are panels which are made up of researchers and clinicians, and these are 10 to 15 people who sit together for over 2 days and discuss all kinds of grants coming from Canada, Canadian hospitals and universities, and decide who should get it. So they have a criteria of quality, and they have also told us that if a grant on NET for this competition in 2010 is not up to the mark, they are not going to fund it. So they are not going to throw away our money. The money will be staying with CNETS or with CRS, and will accumulate interest, and they will wait until they get a good grant. Remember, it's important to support a good project, and I think that is how we should go. If we see the mileage out of it, I'm sure that all of you will be motivated to do more about it and perhaps contribute more so that these kind of collaborations can continue. Distribution of money can be decided by all of us collectively as CNETS, and see how we want to distribute the money in future. And with this, I send an open invitation to all the clinicians and all the fundamental researchers in Canada, and whoever you know, don't feel shy. The deadline is coming 15th of February 2010, and the money will be distributed from 1st of September 2010. So anybody who is working on any field, if they have some idea, a good project on NET, this is a good place to get money. in Canada. So now that my first hat is over, let me go on to my second hat. With Dr. Eza, I'm the co-chair of this session on research. Our idea with Maureen was that we should try to focus what's going on in research. As we discussed, as I just mentioned before, it's not that other sessions didn't have research. In fact, I was quite happy to see a lot of research was discussed. So here, what we are going to try to do is the title. I think I'll try to explain the title. The 360 degree from bench to bedside. And why did we choose this title at the top that you see over here, 360 degree from bench to bedside? The reason is quite simple, actually. In many other cancers, what we find is that the bench is making a significant contribution to bedside. Not so much in NET, not yet at least, not to the level that we desire. So for example, I will once again go back to my favorite example of breast cancer and BRCA, or the contribution of P53 and RB in certain other cancers. I will not go into the details, but all I'm saying is that the bench, that is the research, has contributed significantly to the bedside, the way patients are treated. So I think this is actually a triangle which is very interesting. It starts with the foundation. Foundation are patients, that is you, most of you who are patients. So you suffer from a variety of disease, and you are right there at the center of this, or at the foundation of this triangle. You would then be going to the bedside, a clinician's office, a surgeon's office. You're going to be detected with, there will be pathologists, radiobiologists. They will all be interacting with you and trying to understand your problem, trying to understand your disease. It will have so many elements that some of them are known to them, and some of them are just completely, like I said, scratch your head. I mean, these parameters I cannot explain. I have had samples from New York, from Dr. Warner. Some of you must be knowing him. He was here in the last year Toronto meeting. These samples were so bizarre that we still do not understand the full peptide profile of the serum. We are analyzing it, and it's just that this is not the usual profile. But they are clear case of carcinoid. Some of them were operated on. We know what carcinoid primary it was. And so those are the kind of things that we still do not understand. It should actually go from here and jump to the bench level. This is where we are going to be able to analyze a lot more. I know that a lot of my clinical colleagues are also excellent research. They maintain excellent research programs and laboratories. And some of us who are really fundamental researchers in cancer field, we also work a lot. But that's why I love to come in this meeting, that along with the patients, I also learn a lot about this disease, and then aha moment will come over a coffee or something and say, this needs to be traced. I mean, this needs to be done. The main hurdle will be money, and we are trying to solve that to some extent by providing funding for NET research to anybody who wants to do that. But the basic idea is that once you have done that research, then you want to go back to the bedside, determine if there is a clinical treatment that is more appropriate for these patients so that the patients will benefit. And therefore, this is one disease in which really you will need a feedback that is going from bedside to bench and bench back to bedside. And therefore, we wrote that it should be 360 degree in this respect. Now I will talk about what this meeting is achieving in terms of what is it trying to achieve in terms of what are the priorities for NET treatment. So instead of just mouthing my own words, I decided to borrow from review. And this review was written by Irwin Mortlin and a group of people based on a meeting that was held at NCI in Maryland in 2007. And based on that, Mortlin wrote a review. This review was published in JNCI in 2008. What it said was that priorities for improving the management of gastroenteropancreatic NET. This is the official name for the disease. So what are these priorities? And one by one, I'll tick off this priority and see if you feel or if you agree with me whether we are addressing them in this meeting. So the first priority was to improve the education of physicians and the public. Well, I'm sure all of you will agree that we are doing that. I don't see many other physicians who are not committed to this disease in this audience, but we had made enough effort to get a CME recognition, and if there were physicians, they could have easily got continuing medical education credit. This is the effort that is constantly going on in every meeting. We have done that. Maureen has tried to do that on behalf of CNETS, and that it is really important, and we heard so many times this morning and this afternoon that really this is what is required. To some extent, we are achieving this aim in making it more public. Second point is develop tumor and plasma markers. And remember, these are not my words. These are written in that review as 1 to 10 points, and I'm just going one by one. So we know that we are going to have one at the talk by Dr. Ardil, Joy Ardil. She will talk about the tumor markers or the circulating markers. So this is really important. For early diagnosis, you need to know what are the markers that go up and down and what is their importance. So this is really something that, and some other speakers also referred to these markers before. Standardized pathology, not much has been addressed over here except that one talk that I missed while I was waiting in Quebec City in the morning while they de-iced the runway and my plane. But nonetheless, standardized pathology is something that is very, very important, and I'm sure Dr. Eza will have perhaps more to say about it, WHO classification to be followed or not, or whether we should call it the... anyway, I will not go into those details, it's not my field. Establish regional centers of expertise. You have heard enough about that. It is being addressed in this meeting as well as in the previous meetings it has been addressed. Develop better imaging modality. Our first speaker, Dr. Oberg, will talk about it, but it is really important. The diagnosis of the disease at different stages requires better imaging modalities, and this is what is very important to improve upon. Develop more effective treatment of advanced disease, preferably from increased understanding of the molecular pattern. We need to understand this disease. It's not just that this is a patient comes, symptoms, either I treat or I surgically remove. If we understood the disease more, maybe we could prevent it. We are nowhere near that stage. Nobody ever talks about preventing NET from occurring. Can you believe that? But if you have a cigarette smoke-based cancer, then we can advise people don't smoke cigarettes. We do not even know whether there is a causal association. Is it spontaneous? Is it randomly arising? Do we even know any of those factors? Research is not done. There is not enough knowledge about it. So we need to do those. And then, of course, develop more effective treatment for advanced disease based on increased use of animal model. So we have two speakers who will talk about it, myself and Dr. Isa. He will also talk about the model. Both of us have mouse model of this cancer, and we will tell you what are the advantages of using such models for research. Facilitate trials of new agents. We haven't heard much over here in this meeting at least. The eighth one is develop new cell lines and animal models. I'll try to address this issue to tell you how research goes about in this field, at least some overview of the way it happens. Improve the molecular understanding of these tumors. Point number 9. So you could do a lot of either genomic or RNA interference, microRNA. There are several ways in which you can understand the molecular understanding of this tumor. Dr. Izzat to some extent will refer to that. And final point is improve the understanding of the development of the diffuse neuroendocrine system. So this is not much that I think there, and I think Dr. Isa will take over from me in introducing each speaker. Leave it there.